Hello everyone, and welcome to San Dimas Mall, or Metrocenter Mall, and my look at Bill & Ted's Excellent Adventure, a very little talked about video game and a kind of obscure handheld console, the Atari Lynx. I'm sure a lot of people are aware of Bill & Ted's Excellent Video Game Adventure, which was published by LGN on the Nintendo NES, but this is actually a completely different game that was published and developed by Atari and released in 1991. A lot of these scenes for the Bill & Ted's Excellent Adventure film were actually shot in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and Metrocenter Mall is one of those locations. All of the San Dimas Mall scenes were filmed here. And they even go so far as to point that fact out on some of the tables in the Metrocenter Mall food court. You can see some of the history of the mall here, including that little blurb about the Bill & Ted's Excellent Adventure movie being filmed here. Here's a poster that came with the game, and something that Atari Lynx games did that were kind of interesting is many of the games came with a poster that on the other side actually served as the instruction manual for the game. And I kind of have mixed feelings about this. It is really cool to have a poster for the game that you just bought, but once you hang it on the wall, it's pretty difficult to look at the instruction manual again. What sets this apart from the other games in the series is not only is it based on the films, but it also is based on the 1990 Bill & Ted's cartoon series, which I wasn't even aware existed until I purchased this game a few years ago. Because the San Dimas Mall filming location is so close to me, and also because I've covered Metrocenter Mall extensively on the Retail Archaeology channel, I thought it would be fun to bring my Atari Lynx into the mall in this game and play it there. It seemed only fitting. Now, I did something similar when I brought my Nintendo Game Boy and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan into a Sparrow Pizza because I wanted to film the review for that game there, but this seemed like an even weirder and more obscure thing to do because I'm sure back when these systems were new and relevant, plenty of people brought their Nintendo Game Boys or even Sega Game Gears into malls and played them, but the Atari Lynx was such a low-selling system that who knows if anybody ever did this with their Atari Lynx, and if they did, it's probably been ages since an Atari Lynx has been inside a mall. Let's take a minute and talk about the plot of the game because it is completely different from all of the other Bill & Ted's Excellent Adventure games. In this game, Death has kidnapped Bill and Ted's princesses, and they have to travel through time to try and rescue them. The gameplay is also pretty different. This game's kind of a big fetch quest where you have to go and collect a certain number of musical notes before you can move the phone booth to different time periods in order to accomplish your goals. You can also find phone book pages that let you do the same thing. The first level of the game is set in ancient Egypt, and you actually bounce across a few different time periods within ancient Egypt as well, and once you complete that, you can move on to the next time period. In addition to tracking down the correct number of musical notes or phone book pages, there's also other helpful items that you need to find to complete puzzle-solving elements of the game. For example, there's a gold nugget that you need to find to bribe this guard with, and once you do that, he'll let you in the building and you can collect more of the notes that you need or other items to complete the game. There's a lot of NPCs wandering around that you can talk to, and a lot of them don't really say anything useful, but other ones do give you very helpful clues or even items that you need to complete the game. For example, this guy gives you a scare stone that you can use to scare away the beetle enemies in the Egypt levels. Also, there's no way to actually attack the enemies in this game. You either need to avoid them or use the correct item to scare them off. Part of the puzzle-solving elements too are leaving messages to yourself in different time periods. All of these gameplay elements together actually provide an interesting adventure game type playing experience that really reminds me of playing adventure games on the PC like King's Quest or Space Quest, where it's really just going around and finding the correct items and using them in the correct combinations to get past roadblocks in the game. For example, I had to find this Ankh in order to plug the Ankh-shaped hole in this boat so that I could use it to progress further. And in this part, you actually have to kind of maneuver through the invisible currents here, which is a little bit aggravating, but it's doable. Another thing that reminds me of some of those old PC adventure games is that sometimes the things that you need to do to complete a puzzle aren't entirely obvious, so I have to admit I did at times have to use a walkthrough in order to figure out what I needed to do. But I can't really fault this game for that too much because a lot of games from the time period were like that. Another thing that sets this game apart from the other Bill & Ted's Excellent Adventure games is while those games were released to mixed to negative reviews, this game actually received fairly positive reviews when it was released. Because the puzzles can be kind of cryptic sometimes and some of the enemies are hard to avoid, another really nice thing about this game is there isn't a set number of lives. If you get hit by an enemy, all the game does is either send you back to the phone booth in the time period that you were in, or if you're inside a structure, it'll actually just send you back to the beginning of the structure. So it's a little bit forgiving in that respect. And there's also a really good password save system that you can use, so you don't have to try and complete this game all in one go. One of the few things I can fault the game for, I guess, is the music. Some of it can get kind of repetitive, but other than that, it's actually a really fun game to play, and I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't completely bogus like the NES game. If you're collecting for the Atari Lynx, I think I could highly recommend this as a game that you should have in your Atari Lynx collection. I have to say too, it was pretty fun playing a 28-year-old game on a 30-year-old console in the mall while anybody else playing games in the mall were just playing mobile games on their phones. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this look at Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure on the Atari Lynx. I know I had a lot of fun playing it in the mall the movie was filmed in. As always, everyone, thanks for watching. Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/Retail Archaeology to find out how you can help support the Retail Archaeology and Retail Archaeology 2 channels. Hey, thanks for checking out my quick look at Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure on the Atari Lynx filmed in San Dimas Mall. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and also make sure to follow at the social media links down below because that's the best way to keep up with what's going on with both of my channels.